Hey, so here's lesson 1.2 of our grade 10 academic math, and it's called the method of substitution. So we're going to look at solving a linear system by substituting for one variable from one equation into another. And it kind of sounds crazy in that sentence, but we're going to see how this can happen in the following examples, and I'll show you a strategy for using this method. So the best way to see this is to see some examples. So we'll take a look at this. The lines y equals negative x plus 8 and x minus y equals 4 intersect at right angles. Find the coordinates of the point of intersection. So when we're talking about substitution, what we want to do is take one of the equations and substitute it into the other equation to solve for only one variable instead of the two. So essentially we're trying to get rid of an x or a y so that we can solve for just x or y. So the very first thing is I label the equations. So in this one, I'm going to label equation 1, y equals negative x plus 8, and equation 2 will be the x minus y equals 4. Now, what we're going to do is take the equation that's y equals negative x plus 8, and we're going to take this part and sub into number 2. So we're actually going to take it, and wherever you see y, we're going to put it right here. So what happens is that equation 2 becomes x minus y, which up here is negative 8, not negative 8, negative x plus 8, and the whole thing equals 4. So then what we do with it is solve for x. And the way we do that is we rearrange and combine like terms until we're able to figure out what x equals. So these two negatives together, I'm going to try to drop the brackets. The two negatives together become positive, and then the negative with the positive becomes negative 8 equals 4. I've got some x's, so I'm going to combine them together. X plus x is 2x minus 8 equals 4. I'm going to move that 8 over to the other side. 2x equals 4. When we move it over to the other side, it changes signs, so it becomes a plus 8. 2x equals 12. And then we divided each side by 2 to give us x equals 6. That is what x equals in this example. Once you have one of the values, x or y, in this case we have x, we're going to sub x equals 6 into an equation. It doesn't matter which one, you can choose 1 or 2. I'm going to sub it into number 1 and solve for y because we know what x is. So into 1 we get y equals negative x, so negative 6 plus 8. And then y equals, we just solve it. Negative 6 plus 8 is positive 2. So y equals 2. What we then can do with these is we get a point of where x is 6 and y is 2. And if we were to graph these two lines on Desmos, this is the point where you would see that they intersect. So this gives us our point of intersection. That's the first example. Let's look at another one. Okay, so in this example, it's x plus y equals 5 and 3x minus y equals 7. So always kind of pick the one that's going to look the easiest, or that I think might be the easiest to solve. So I first label them. That one's going to be 1 and 2. And so for my steps, I'm going to let's not use that. Step 1, I'm going to rearrange. Equation 1. Just so that I get x or y all by itself. Last time we did x, or we substituted for y. Let's substitute for x this time. So I'm going to make this x. This is what the equation is. I'm going to move this y over to get x all by itself. So x equals 5 minus y. And then this is what we're gonna sub in. So step 2, I'm gonna sub into equation 2. So we've already worked with equation 1. We have to work with equation 2. So equation 2 says 3x. X is 5 minus y. And then minus y equals 7. We're going to distribute this 3. It gets multiplied by everything that's in that bracket. So it becomes 3 times 5 plus 3 times negative y minus y equals 7. I'll multiply it out. 15 minus 3y minus y equals 7. If I have minus 3y minus another one, becomes 15 minus 4y equals 7. I still want to get y all by itself, so I'll move the 15 over. 7 minus 15. So negative 4y equals negative 8. And then I'll divide both sides by negative 4 so that the negatives cancel. And I get y equals 2. So we're going to take that 2, y equals 2, and sub it into one of the other equations, either 1 or 2, whichever one you want, to solve for the x value. So I'm going to use the first one, which was x plus y equals 5. So we know that y equals 2. That's from the previous slide. So we're going to sub into 1 to solve for x. So x plus y, this was equation 1. X plus y equals 5. So x plus 2 equals 5. I'm going to move that 2 over to the other side. X equals 5 minus 2. So x equals 3. So there is our point of intersection for this one. We have x equals 3, y equals 2. So this is our point of intersection for this example. All right. Here was another example. Algebra. So we can actually solve the point of intersection. Where do they intersect? Algebraically, like we just did, or graphically. So algebraically, we'll go through this example, and then I'll show you how to do it graphically. And then I think we have one more example, and then we'll do some practice. So again, I want to set this one equal to 1, this equation 2. And then I'm going to pick which one I want to rearrange. I'm going to pick to rearrange number 2. Just to get that y all by itself. So 4x plus y equals 9. And so I'm going to move the 4x over to make it y equals 9 minus 4x. I'm going to sub into equation 1. So you always sub it into the other equation. So because we rearranged 2, I'm going to sub into 1. So 2x minus y. Y is 9 minus 4x equals 4. I'm going to distribute that negative sign, kind of get rid of the brackets. Minus 9. 2 minuses together become plus. And then it equals 4. Then I'm going to collect what I can, move things over. And then so we're going to take the 2x and 4x and put it together. 6x minus 9 equals 4. I'm going to move that 9 over. So 4 plus 9, 13, and I'll divide both sides by 6. And we get 2.1667 if I round it. Okay, then I'm going to sub that in. Sub into whichever equation you want to do. I'm going to sub it into 1 to solve for y this time. So 2 times x was 2.1667 minus y equals 4. So when we multiply that, so we calculate this, we get 4.3334 minus y equals 4. And then I'm going to subtract on the other side 4 minus 4.3334. When I subtract it, I'm going to get negative 0.3334. And since both sides have negatives on it, we can just drop those. So y is 0.3334. And we get a point of intersection that is 2.1667 and 0.3334. So graphically, you'll want to use Desmos to do this. I did show you guys how to do that in class. So just try it out. Use desmos.com. Put those equations in, and you'll see the point where they intersect is the same as the point that we just found on the previous slide. All right, the last example, we didn't do it in class, but I'm going to do it here just so you guys have it. Stephanie has 5 more fish in her aquarium than Brett has. The two have a total of 31 fish. How many fish does Stephanie have and how many fish does Brett have? So the first thing we have to do is come up with an equation for each one. I'm going to let the first equation x be Stephanie's fishes. And I'm going to let y be the however many fish that Brett has. And so we have a couple things here. We know that Stephanie has 5 more fish in her aquarium than Brett has. So whatever Brett has plus 5 is the number of fish that Stephanie has. That's the first one. And then the second one, the two have a total of 31 fish. So if we add Stephanie's fish plus the number of Brett's fish, we get a total of 31. So we have two equations here. And then we can solve it using the steps we did in the previous one. This equation is already an x equals something. So I'm just going to sub 1 into 2 to solve for it. So where x is, I'm going to put y plus 5. So y plus 5 plus y equals 31. I'll collect the like terms. Y plus y is 2y plus 5 gives us 31. We'll move that 5 over. So 2y equals 31 minus 5. 31 minus 5 is 26. And then I'll divide both sides by 2. So we'll get y equals 13. So there, we know that because y is the number of fish that Brett has 13 fish. We can easily find out how many fish Stephanie has by substituting that back into equation 1, where 13 plus 5 equals x. So 18 is x. And then we can say Stephanie has 18 fish and Brett has 13. Okay? Last thing I want you to do is the practice questions here. You'll find the practice sheets in just below on the D2L. But here are the questions I want you to do for that, and I will check in with you later. Bye.